Hello, thank you for watching this video. We are going to be talking here about cancer clinical trials. We're going to first talk about just cancer in general, and then we're going to go into some facts about clinical trials. So first I want to start with who we are in case you aren't familiar. Latinas Contra Cancer in San Jose is a nonprofit organization established in 2003 to provide cancer education, patient navigation, and psychosocial support to Latino families facing cancer. Our goal is to provide greater access to high quality medical care and connect at a national level to Latino support agencies. Okay, so now we're gonna start talking first about cancer in general. We just wanna go do a quick overview of how cancer happens. So every single part of our body is made of cells. These cells are very small and they pack together to create bigger things like our lungs and our heart and our bones. It's like the clothes you wear, for example. You see a shirt or pants, but when you look really close, you notice it's actually made of a bunch of little strings packed closely together. Together, the strings make the shirt, and similarly, our cells together make our body. In order for us to keep growing or repair ourselves, such as when we get a cut, our cells divide. They replicate everything that's inside them and divide in half multiple times to make more and more cells. In a single day, 2 trillion cells divide in our body. The machinery that makes our cells work and that allows our cells to keep our body functioning is very complicated, and it's very, very specific and delicate. A small mistake in the division of a cell can make the cell completely malfunction. And if that bad cell stays in our body, it is going to divide and those cells will also be bad. And remember, 2 trillions of cells divide in our body every day. Usually our body, our immune system, will kill a bad cell as soon as possible to prevent it from dividing and making more bad cells. But nothing in the world is perfect, and sometimes our bodies don't recognize when a cell is not working properly. And this is what causes all disease. When cells don't work the way they're supposed to work because of an error, that causes disease. In the case of the disease that we call cancer, the problem with the cell is that it begins to divide uncontrollably. The way that our cells know how to divide in the first place, it can be quite difficult to understand, but I think it's very important we understand it because this is what causes cancer. Basically, there are these guards in our cells that tell the cell it's okay to divide or it's not okay to divide. We aren't ready. In reality, we don't actually have guards in our cells. These guards represent certain genes in our DNA, but I will talk about guards because this is easier to visualize. So one of these guards comes from our mom and one from our father. If we lose one guard, it's okay. We can still function because the other guard is still working and keeping everything under control. But when we lose both guards, our cells can't control their division. They don't know when it's okay to divide. They can be full of problems, but usually our guards will stop them and say, wait, we can't divide, we are full of problems. But when we don't have our guards, the cells will just divide no matter how bad they are. This is what cancer is. In cancer, our cells will divide and nothing will stop them because those cells lost their guards. And of course, this can happen anywhere in our body because our whole body is made of cells, which is why there are so many different types of cancer. Pancreatic cancer means the cells in our pancreas started dividing uncontrollably. Breast cancer means that the cells in our breast started dividing uncontrollably, and so on. Some cancers can be genetic, and some usually aren't. The way a cancer is genetic, it doesn't mean that your parents passed you the cancer or that you were born with it. It means you are more likely to get it because one of your parents unfortunately passed on to you a little problem. The reason cancer can be genetic is because you were born without one of your guards. This could be because one of your parents lost their guard during their life, or your parent was already born without it, so they couldn't pass it to you. When you're born without one of your guards, you are at a disadvantage already because only one bad thing has to happen for you to lose your other guard. People who are born with both guards have better chances because it is very unlikely to lose both guards during your life. It is more likely to just lose one. So how can we lose our guards? We can lose them through chance or through environmental factors. This means being exposed in high amounts to radiation, UV light, which comes from the sun, or toxic chemicals. These toxic chemicals can be found in our food, such as pesticides used in crops, in waste, in alcohol and processed food, and drugs we are given to treat other diseases, in smoke that comes from factories, and in smoke from cigarettes and other drugs. These things can kill our guards, but that doesn't mean that if you eat an apple that isn't organic or if you got an x-ray that you will get cancer. Our bodies are different and they each react to things in different ways. But being exposed to these and many other environmental factors can cause our guards to die, especially if you're exposed to them for long amounts of time. And so these are the things that cause cancer. The uncontrollable division of our cells causes clumps of these bad cells, which are called tumors. As I said before, once the cell stops being able to control its division, more and more mistakes that ruin the function of the cell will happen, and these problems will be passed on to the daughter cells through these uncontrollable divisions until the cells in this tumor are completely unrecognizable as the cells they used to be. For example, if this was a breast cancer, the breast cells would no longer look like breast cells, and they would only work to cause chaos and turn good healthy cells into more cancer, like zombies. Now, not all tumors will lead to cancer. Cancer meaning that the bad cells will be so bad, they will cause our body to stop working properly. Some tumors are benign. These can often be removed, and in most cases, they do not come back. Malignant tumors will cause problems in our body. This is because malignant tumors will have cells that will travel to other parts of our bodies. In benign tumors, the bad cells stay within the area and aren't so far down the zombie route that they are still recognizable as breast cells, for example. In malignant tumors, the cells are so monstrous and so unrecognizable that they just cause chaos and they travel through our blood and our lymph nodes to other parts of our body, causing cells there to become cancerous and making more tumors. Once the cancer travels to multiple parts of our body, it is a lot harder to remove. So why is it important to bring awareness about cancer to Latino communities? Because 1 in 5 Latinos in the US die from cancer. It causes more deaths in Latino communities than heart disease, which kills more of the white population. These are rates that are much higher than in white communities. Latinos are diagnosed at much later stages of cancer when it is harder to remove it than other ethnic groups, causing Latinos to die from cancer at higher rates. This is because Latino communities are much more likely to be exposed to all of the things I said kill our guards, such as unhealthy air, poor diets, etc. And this is because Latino communities in this country are more likely to be low income and to not be able to afford to live in the areas that have good air, to afford healthy food, to afford healthcare, and to have access to the education that allows them to know what the risk factors for cancer are and to know what preventative measures can be taken. So it is important for us as Latinos to understand that these are the disadvantages of our community, that this is the state of our community in this country, so that we can control our health and so that we can take measures to take care of ourselves in the best way we can. So we're going to talk now specifically about clinical trials. So the goal of cancer clinical trials, the goals are to test new ways to treat cancer, to find and diagnose cancer, to prevent cancer, and to manage the symptoms and side effects of current treatments. The goal is also to see how these new treatments affect humans. Clinical trials are open to participants from all backgrounds, cultures, and ethnicities. The more diverse the population is during the trial, the better researchers will understand how a certain population will respond to the treatment once it's in the market. Treatments are evaluated in clinical trials before being approved for wider use, so the more data, the better. Virtually every other therapy currently on the market was studied and made possible by people participating in clinical trials. Research is changing the way cancer is being treated because it allows scientists to find new treatments. Since the treatments have never been used before, clinical trials offer access to the latest and most promising science, and this might bring hope for the patient and for the participants. Many clinical trials save lives, not just for the people participating, but also for future generations that benefit from the new treatments that could be approved once the clinical trial is over and approved. As Latinos, it is critically important that we participate in clinical trials because it helps researchers better understand how medications work for our population. The medications of the treatment that are being studied might affect the Latino ethnicity differently from the majority white population for various external reasons. And it is important for doctors to have that data so that Latino cancer patients can be given the best possible available treatments. Not only this, but every participant participating in cancer trials advances cancer care, which can eventually lead to the discovery of approaches that work for other cancers. So, what are the conditions once you are participating in the trial? During the clinical trial, all participants are given at least the current standard treatment for their particular cancer, because the point of the trial is to see how the new treatment being studied compares to the current standard. The way scientific studies like these work is that they don't tell you whether you are getting the new treatment or the normal treatment, so that the fact that you think you are getting a new fancy treatment affects the results of the study. So they don't tell you so that you thinking that doesn't affect the results. So there is a possibility you could be getting the standard treatment, but there's also a possibility that you will be getting the new type of treatment being studied. So either way, you will be treated. They wouldn't let you just not get any treatment. And remember that the goal of clinical trials is to find new treatments that are better than the existing standard of care, or to create a standard of care if one does not already exist, such as for conditions that don't have great treatments at the moment. Placebos are rarely used in clinical trials. A placebo is basically a fake treatment. It's like if I gave you a pill and told you it's a headache medication, but in fact, it's just a sugar cube. In clinical trials, participants will always receive at least the current standard of care for their type of cancer. If the study does use a placebo, it is usually combined with the standard treatment. Again, they wouldn't just let you have no treatment at all. The safety of participants in clinical trials is very important. Each trial is supervised by a special committee whose focus is to protect the rights of the participants. Each trial is also approved by the IRB, which stands for the Institutional Review Board, and it protects the interest of patients who participate in the trial. No human trial is performed without the approval of the IRB, and they just make sure that the study is ethical and that they're not violating any of your rights. Whether you participate in a trial or what trial you feel is best for you is completely up to you. You are in control. No one can force you to do anything. You may learn about trials from your doctor. So if you're interested in joining one, make sure you let your doctor know. And remember, you're not forced to do anything. You can leave the trial in the middle of it if you wanted to. You always have, like I said, you always have the option of withdrawing from a trial at any time and for any reason without penalty. Again, no one can force you to do anything. Once a trial has been considered, the patient meets with a research nurse that walks the patient through the details of the trial, and then you sign that you consent to the terms. If you do, you can always choose to not consent, and while they explain the details of the trial, make sure you ask as many questions as you want so that you are sure that you want to do it. The cost of a study treatment is typically free of charge and is paid for by the study. Most special tests done, like extra blood tests for the trial, are paid for by the study. The study center might have a financial calculator that can answer your questions regarding costs and other matters. Other costs associated with your care are handled as they would be if you weren't in the trial. Only trial related costs are covered. Other costs are probably covered by your insurance. Make sure You ask those questions once you are interested in the trial and meeting with the research nurse. Make sure you ask all these kind of questions because they can be different from trial to trial. To help with additional costs, there are many organizations that can help with additional costs such as travel, lodging, and daycare. Your doctor and their office staff can direct you to a variety of helpful resources. Interested participants are screened to make sure the trial is right and safe for you. Making sure patients meet the criteria for the trial also helps ensure that the data produced by the trials is meaningful. For example, trials for treatment that target a mutation in the BRCA gene requires people who have the mutation. Otherwise, the study wouldn't work and it wouldn't make sense. So make sure you look at a variety of options for clinical trials if you're interested in them. Um, if you do end up participating in a clinical trial, it is important to keep in mind that clinical trials are run because the treatment being studied already showed potential for being successful. Many years of research and massive effort is required before a treatment reaches a clinical trial, so keeping faith and hope that the cancer trial will be successful is important. Lastly, we want to encourage you to consider clinical trials as an option from the beginning of diagnosis. For some people, clinical trials are a great first option. Waiting longer would ultimately hinder the ability to qualify. It doesn't hurt to ask and get information about trials that might apply to you, so just keep an open mind. Finally, our sponsor is Stand Up to Cancer. Stand Up to Cancer raises funds to accelerate the pace of research to get new therapies to patients quickly and to save lives now. Stand Up to Cancer is a division of the Entertainment Industry Foundation, and it was established in 2008 by media and entertainment leaders who utilize these community resources to engage the public in supporting a new collaborative model of cancer research to increase awareness about cancer prevention and to highlight progress being made in the fight against cancer. As of April 2018, more than 1,500 scientists representing more than 180 institutions are involved in Stand Up to Cancer funded research projects. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned about clinical trials. I hope that, I don't hope you have a diagnosis of cancer, but if you do, I hope you consider clinical trials. It's very important for us as Latinos to be represented in these trials. Let us know if you have any questions. On our website, you can find all of our emails. You can also visit our website for more information or more videos. And thank you so much for watching.